Good evening. There we go. All right, you can do better than that. Good evening. I'm Darshane Kendrick, State Representative for House District 93, and I am thrilled to be here today with so many distinguished Georgia women. State Representative Karen Bennett from House District 94, and State Senator Nikema Williams from Senate District 39, who is also our Democratic Party of Georgia chairwoman. And I'm also very excited to welcome here at this historically black college my Alpha Kappa Alpha soror, Kamala Harris. We are here in Atlanta, Georgia, the heart of this state's Democratic base. The city we are standing in is steeped in history. It's filled with the bravery and persistence of so many who have came before us. Their legacy is what's carried us to this moment on the very cusp of making history. This is the most consequential election in recent history, and Georgia will play a pivotal role in it. Georgia will help determine the future of our nation, as it has so many times in the past. In fact, history has already been made this year in Georgia. Over 2 million Georgia voters have already cast their ballots in this election so far. Give it up. That is a 133% increase from this time in 2016. More absentee ballots have been submitted so far in this election than were submitted in the entire 2016 election right here in Georgia. There are 800,000 newly registered voters in our state since 2018, 49% of which are new voters and people of color, and 46% are under the age of 30. Additionally, give it up. Additionally, nearly a quarter of early voters in Georgia did not even vote in the 2016 election. At least a quarter of them have early voted, and we still have 11 days to go. I am so energized with the enthusiasm of each and every one of you and what we're seeing in Georgia from Georgia voters. We are fired up, and we are not letting go. We are going to reach every single Georgia voter between now and November 3rd. We will leave no stone unturned and no voter ignored. Georgians are voting because Georgians are hurting. They know we need a change in leadership. They know that we cannot afford another 4 more years of this administration. It's never been more clear that we need leaders who are actually interested in leading. And those leaders are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The unprecedented times that we are experiencing as a nation and as a state have been exacerbated by a White House that doesn't know how to or doesn't want to properly deal with challenges, which is why those challenges have now become crises. And we are facing multiple crises: the global health pandemic, economic downturn, systematic racism, and climate crisis. Our current administration ignores all of these and has no plans to address them. They aren't fighting for working families here in Georgia and across the country. They're only looking out for their buddies and special interests. And they have no plans to contain COVID-19, which has killed 7,700 of our fellow Georgians and have left tens of thousands more out of work. Joe and Kamala have concrete plans to tackle COVID-19, to build our economy back better, and to root out systematic racism. Biden's vision for America is rooted in inclusivity and equality, and his comprehensive approach to building back better will address the inequities that persist in our society. These investments are going to uplift and stabilize our communities by making sure all Americans have access to a high-quality education, good-paying jobs, and affordable health care. Our current administration has put politics and special interests before the American people time and time again, and it's time for a change. And that change is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But it's going to be up to each and every one of us to exercise our right to vote in order to make that change. We need to mobilize our families, friends, and neighbors like we have never done before. There is simply too much at stake to sit this one out. In 11 days, we will elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We will restore decency and leadership to the White House. And we will restore the soul of our nation. Thank you so much, and I am pleased to introduce State Representative Karen Bennett to the stage.
How's everybody doing? I thought I was going to come up here on some music, but are you ready? Are you ready, Georgia? It has never been more clear. First of all, let me thank my Sauron representative, State Representative Dashawn Kendrick, a great AKA sister. That's right. How many of you know it's never been more clear than today that we need leaders like Joe Biden and my AKA sister Kamala Harris in the White House? Yes. They will serve the American people with honor and will not make a spectacle of the Oval Office. You see, President Trump has focused on downplaying the virus instead of getting the virus under control. So meanwhile, thanks to Trump's ineptitude, our economy is in peril. Small businesses have been suffering, and many are not getting the help that they need to recover. Georgians are hurting now more than ever before, and we need leaders in the White House who will listen to the experts and serve the people and not their own interests. So throughout her career, Kamala Harris has proven, I said she has proven that she is strong, a decisive leader who has what it takes to lift our country up and put us back on the right track. Is that right? Georgians, she is willing to roll up her sleeves and start doing the work on day one to root out corruption that has flourished under this Trump administration. And she and Joe Biden will ignite the changes we need to protect working families and give them the tools to thrive. So Georgians have been lining up to vote early, filling out absentee ballots, and they're dropping them off even as we speak. So Georgia, it's my delight to bring up another sister, the chairman of the Georgia Democratic Party, the Democratic Party of Georgia, and the next Congresswoman of District 5, Senator Nikema Williams. Keep y'all safe today, y'all. Hello, hello, hello. I am State Senator Nikema Williams, and I have the privilege of being the chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Georgia. I'm excited to be here with y'all today, and I want to give a special shout out to all of the hard-working people across the state of Georgia, because y'all, we're a battleground state, and we are here because of you. Georgia voters are ready to take us to victory. We know the power of our voices because we've seen the growth of our movement over just 4 short years. We've seen how scared is made the other side, and we're ready to make good trouble, like Congressman John Lewis taught us. We're ready to stand up for our values because, y'all, we can't afford to wait for the progress that our communities need. And we're ready to knock on every door, turn out every voter for Joe Biden and my soror, Kamala Harris. But y'all, we're not gonna stop there. We're gonna elect Democrats up and down the ballot because we know for sure that the road to a Senate majority and the White House is paved right through Georgia. We're 11 days, y'all, 11 days from the most consequential election of our lifetime. And y'all, we're ready for this fight. For the last 4 years, we've mobilized, we've organized, and we've met this extraordinary time with resilience, dignity, and faith. And with just 11 days left of this election, more than 2.3 million early votes have already been cast in Georgia. But we're not done. For the next 11 days, we're not going to falter. We won't lose focus. We're going to vote early. We're going to vote this weekend. We're going to vote Saturday and Sunday in force. We're going to make sure that our friends and family vote this weekend. And we're going to keep hustling every day for the next 11 days until we've made sure that every single Georgia voter turns out to vote and we turn this state a deep shade of blue. Y'all, we got to keep this fight going all the way through November 3rd until we finish the job and elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Democrats up and down the ballot. Everything is on the line. Everything is on the ballot. And this team is going to get it done. Georgia Democrats are ready to live our values out loud and on purpose for the promise of America. This is Battleground Georgia, and we're going to win, y'all. Thank you.
Hello, Georgia. I can't hear you. Hello, everybody. Well, listen, welcome to the campus of Morehouse College, my alma mater. And I'm always grateful to welcome a great bison woman to the campus of Morehouse. H, you in the house? I'm Reverend Raphael Warnock, Senior Pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and a candidate for the United States Senate in the great state of Georgia. I'm running in the special election against Kelly Loeffler. It's all right, she's warming up the seat until I get there. But I want to thank Senator Harris for coming down to Georgia. And we say to her, welcome to the battleground state. Let me start there. No one in Georgia believes that this is a red state any longer. Even the other side does not believe that this is a red state. That's why they're engaged in voter suppression. But we're going to overcome their voter suppression with voter enthusiasm and voter passion. Are you ready to flip Georgia blue? Are you ready to take back the Senate for Democrats so that we can vote on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and so much good legislation that needs to pass? And so make no mistake, we are building a mighty movement even now. We are seeing a great outpouring of voters. We've already seen 1 million more voters at this point in the cycle than we did in 2016. And so if we keep up this enthusiasm, if we keep up this movement, there is no doubt that we are on our way to record voter turnout. And we need it because the stakes could not be higher in this election. When we go to the polls, we'll see the names of those running for office on the ballot, but we know that citizens do not vote for politicians. Citizens vote for themselves. And so let's be very clear about what's on the ballot. Health care is on the ballot. The dignity of workers is on the ballot. The future of our planet is on the ballot. And so we've got to win back the White House. But not only that, we've got to take back these 2 United States Senate seats. Are you ready to do it? And so I'm proud to be running for the United States Senate in a state where I grew up. I'm pastor of Ebenezer Church here in Atlanta, but I was born in Savannah, Georgia. I'm a Georgia boy. My mother's from Waycross. Y'all know where that is? It's way across Georgia. My dad was born in Burke County and then Scriven County and then Chatham County. I'm a Georgia boy. I grew up in public housing, one of 12 children in my family. I'm number 11 and the first college graduate in my family. I arrived on this campus, I won't say how many years ago. As a freshman, I came on a full faith scholarship. That means I didn't have enough money for the first semester. But with faith in God and faith in myself, I earned my degree. I went on to get 2 other master's degrees and a PhD degree through hard work, a sense of personal responsibility, grit, and determination. But that alone didn't do it. Somebody gave me a Pell Grant. Somebody gave me a low-interest student loan. In other words, somebody provided for me a ladder of opportunity. And so I'm running for the United States Senate because I see that there are those who get to the top and then they kick down the ladder so that other folk can't climb up. And so we've got to reclaim the White House, we've got to flip the Senate blue, and we've got to redeem the soul of America. The stakes are so high, we've got to win the future for all of our children. Are you ready to do it? Well, let's get this job done. Now, my team would want me to tell you that when you go to vote, in the special election for Senate, make sure you look all the way down because my name is one of 21 names on the ballot. And I'm the name next to the last name on the ballot. But I'm a preacher, and somewhere I read in Scripture that the last shall be first. Yeah, let the car say amen. Let's win this thing for Georgia. It is my distinct honor to welcome my brother from another mother. You got the pastor of Ebenezer Church and a young Jewish guy both running for the Senate. Would you welcome an amazing American, Jon Ossoff, the next United States Senator?
Hello, Morehouse. Hello, Atlanta. Hey, everybody, you hear me in the back? You can lay on the horn now. All right. It is truly an honor to follow my friend, Reverend Warnock, who in the U.S. Senate will be a great voice of moral clarity for our state and for our country. Georgia, we have the chance right now to elect 2 new United States senators. But to do that, we've got to vote like we've never voted before. And that doesn't mean waiting until November 3rd. That's just the last chance to vote. We need to vote now. And listen, for everybody out there and watching at home, tomorrow in Georgia, we have statewide early voting in every county. So we need to make a plan to vote early, to vote tomorrow, to get out our friends and our family and our colleagues and people from church to vote like never before, because there's too much on the line to sit this out. Not just the chance to elect 2 new United States senators to represent Georgia, but the opportunity and the obligation to end this Trump presidency and to elect Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to lead this country forward. We can't take another 4 years of Donald Trump, y'all. America deserves better. We need ethical leaders who put the people's interests ahead of their own, who put our health ahead of their donors, who bring us together instead of turning us against one another. My mother came to this country as an immigrant when she was 23 years old because she believed this was a country that welcomed those striving for opportunity or fleeing persecution, that we are out of many one, that we're on a journey of progress toward fully realizing our founding ideals. An America with true equal justice and equal protection under the law, and a government for, of, and by the people. So our obligation this year is to vote, is to get everybody we know to vote, to elect brilliant leaders like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, to turn the chapter on this dark chapter in our history. We need a change. I'm grateful to you. I love you. I wish you good health. Thank you so much.
Hello, Georgia. Hello, Morehouse College. We're so grateful to be with you here today. My name is Lucy McBath, and I am the Congresswoman for Georgia's 6th Congressional District. And I am so honored to help welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Senator Kamala Harris, to Georgia. You know, we're gathered here today in times more uncertain than in recent history and memory. This pandemic has caused grief for many, economic hardship for millions, and it has altered the day-to-day lives of every single American. Our country is crying out for strong, sensible leadership in Washington. And when we win the White House in November, it will actually have begun here in Georgia. Georgia has already seen record-breaking numbers of people cast their ballots this election, and that momentum is only growing. Hard-working families across Georgia understand that this election may be the most important of our lifetimes, and the choices have never been clearer. This election is between those who seek to divide and those who wish to unite. It is between those who sow the seeds of hatred and those who are rooted in the fight for peace and justice and prosperity. Now more than ever, we need leaders who will fight for a future where love and compassion drive out hate and violence, a future with faith and hope for a brighter world, a future that we can all believe in, a future that we can all live in. Senator Harris and Vice President Biden are the leaders who can and will bring us into this future. When I ran for office in 2018, much of the country had written off my campaign. And I never dreamed that I would be running for Congress. Like most Americans, I just wanted to start a family and raise a compassionate and caring and loving child. Then 8 years ago, I lost my son, Jordan Davis, in an unnecessary and tragic, racially motivated, hate-filled murder. Jordan was only 17 years old. And as I put the pieces of my life back together, I began speaking out. After the tragedy in Parkland, Florida, I stood up to run for office, taking on an NRA-backed incumbent in a seat which had not been blue since 1979. To fight for the safety of our families, and that is what is on the line this November. No family in this country should ever have to go through what I did. And when I ran for office, the pundits thought my seat could never be won by just a regular mom like myself. But those who know me know that nothing is more important and more powerful than a mom or a woman like Kamala Harris on a mission. And so we got to work, as many of you are doing here. You're texting, you're calling, you're knocking on doors, but most importantly, we are voting. And we are voting early because of the work of the tireless, dedicated volunteers. Many of you right here, we flipped my seat and we are flipping seats all over Georgia. And that's exactly what we're going to do this November for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. We're going to win from the very top of the ticket to the very bottom. We're going to elect John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. We're going to vote for leaders like Representative Kendrick and Representative Bennett, and we will win this state. So this evening, as I speak to every one of you, my fellow Georgians, it is time for us to make our voices heard, not just for our state, but for the entire country. Truth, compassion, and respect are on the ballot. It is our time to speak out loudly for steady leadership that can guide us. It is time to vote for compassionate leaders who understand the sacrifices hardworking families have made at the kitchen table. And it is our time to elect, for the first time in this nation's history, a black woman as Vice President of the United States of America. This year, in this historic election, may we honor the legacy of those whose shoulders we now stand on. Legacies like that of my friend and colleague, the late John Lewis, whose service and sacrifice opened the doors of opportunity for Americans of every color and every creed. And may we remember his words as we fight for the soul of this nation. We have a moral obligation, a mission, and a mandate to do what we can to make our country and our world a better place, and to help usher in a loving community where no one is left out or left behind. Our strength as a nation has always been our ability to come together to address our greatest challenges, and that is the opportunity that we have in this moment. When we look back at this election in years to come, I pray that every one of us will take pride in our response to the challenges that we now face, that we fought to protect our fellow Americans, our brothers and our sisters of this great nation with care and with compassion, with love, unity, and unshakable determination. That we elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the next president and vice president of the United States of America. And the power is now in our hands. And now I am happy to introduce to you Mr. Rick Hart, a student at Morehouse College, and he is a co-chair of the Young Leaders for Biden.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman McBath, and good afternoon, Atlanta. My name is Rick Hart, and I'm a junior political science major, sociology minor at this great institution, Morehouse College. I hold the honor and privilege of serving as the co-chair of Georgia Young Leaders for Biden and as HBCU Outreach Director of College Democrats of America. I come to you today, 11 days out from the most consequential election of our lifetimes, as a first-time voter in a presidential race, the son and grandson of HBCU grad educators, the great-grandson of steel mill workers and railroad builders, the great-great-grandson of sharecroppers, and the great-great-great-grandson of slaves who accompanied General Sherman across the state of Georgia all the way to the high seas. Friends, we have a choice to make. We can choose to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who believe in science, who have a plan to combat COVID-19 head on, who will rebuild the backbone of America, who will unify America, who will restore the soul of America, or we can choose to continue to walk through these next years both backwards and blindfolded. We must beat Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Mitch McConnell, David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler at the ballot box in 11 days so that we can chart a future that is accessible, inclusive, and just for all. I am excited about the prospect of electing a black woman as the next vice president of these United States. I am ready. We are ready for an HBCU grad, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, to serve as the next vice president of these United States. Senator Kamala Harris is trailblazing the way for us all. When little black boys and girls look up at their TVs come January, they will see a vice president who looks just like them. Atlanta, are you ready to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on November 3rd? We will win this state. We will win this race. We will win this fight. It is my honor to introduce to you the next vice president of these United States of America, Senator Kamala Harris.
Hey, everybody. Can we hear it for Rick Hart? Where is he? Where'd he go? What's up, Rick? He was so good. He's so good. He's the head of the Georgia. There you are. You just tore it up. Rick is the head of the Georgia Students for Biden, the co-chair. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about Joe Biden, you know, and he says it often, he understands his long life of service and dedication to public service, but he is always uplifting those who are the emerging leaders, and Rick Hart is one of them. So can we give it up for Rick? Because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's about everybody taking on their role of leadership, knowing that we have so much at stake in this election. There is so much at stake. And so I came back to Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Last time I was here, it was before the pandemic. I spoke on the stage here at Morehouse in March of last year. And, you know, coming to Atlanta, especially if you are black and hold elected office in America,
coming to Atlanta is like coming back to the womb. It really is. It is. Because Atlanta represents so much about who we are as America. Atlanta represents the hopes and the dreams and the fight to make real the promise of America. Atlanta is a place that has produced leaders who have been national leaders and international leaders who have always understood that hope will fuel the fight. Faith will be what grounds us in knowing what is possible. But then you gotta just organize the folks and bring people together and recognize that nothing we have ever achieved as a nation by way of progress came without a fight. And so that's what we have in front of us. We have, for the next 11 days, Georgia, a fight for the soul of our nation. This is a fight that we are engaged in because we believe in the ideals of our country. We believe in our democracy. We know that America's democracy will always be as strong as we, the people, are in our willingness to fight for those ideals. And so that's where we are today, in a fight for the ideals, in a fight for the dignity, in a fight for justice and equal justice under law. And let's look at what is at stake. So we're dealing with a pandemic, and we're dealing with, partly because of that, 4 crises that are occurring at one time in our nation. We're looking at, because of the pandemic, a public health crisis, where we have seen over 220,000 Americans lose their lives in just the last several months, many of whom, tragically, in their last days on earth, couldn't even be with their family, with people they love, because of the nature of this pandemic. We're looking at over 8.5 million folks who have contracted the virus, thankfully have lived, but are looking at untold long-term consequences. Doctors are talking about things like lung scarring. And in the midst of this public health pandemic, we have a Donald Trump who, thanks to Bob Woodward, we knew back on January 28th, he knew the deal about COVID. He had been informed that it can kill people, that it is 5 times as likely to kill as the flu. He knew it was airborne. He knew it could harm children. And he sat on that information, and he did not tell the American people. Can you imagine what you might have done had you known what he knew on January 28th? How folks might have prepared? How folks might have said, you know, I got to buy some extra toilet paper, at the very least. But also, how the fact is that even in Donald Trump's America before the pandemic, folks were working 2 and 3 jobs to try and pay the bills and pay the rent. Joe Biden, I believe, in our America, nobody should have to work more than 1 job to pay their bills and pay the rent and put food on the table. And he sat on this information and then had the gall, had the nerve to say it was a hoax, to muzzle the public health experts, to suggest that he keeps a ledger. And you're on one side of his ledger if you don't wear a mask. You're on another side of his ledger if you wear a mask. And now look where we are. Now look where we are. And he's in the United States Supreme Court with his boy, Bill Barr, trying to sue to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And let's step back from a moment and think about this. This man, from the time he was, even before he was running for office, when he questioned the legitimacy of the birthplace of the first black president of the United States, has been so weirdly obsessed with trying to get rid of whatever Barack Obama created. Think about that. We don't need presidents who have weird obsessions. What is that about? So he's in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which brought health coverage to over 20 million Americans, covered people with pre-existing conditions. You know anybody who has diabetes, high blood pressure, breast cancer, lupus? And he wants to get rid of the thing that brought care and dignity to tens of millions of Americans. This is one of the reasons Donald Trump got to go. Got to go. We are in the middle of all these crises. The economic crisis. Over 30 million people in just the last several months had to file for unemployment. We are looking at families that are getting up at the crack of dawn to drive, to sit in their car in a food line for hours, praying that they can get to the end of the line before the food runs out. 1 in 5 mothers in America is describing her children under the age of 12 as being hungry. We're in the midst of a hunger crisis in America. And you see, again, on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who says, let me tell you how I measure the economy and how well it is doing. I measure the greatnesses of the economy based on how working people are doing. How are working people doing? When working people and working families are doing well, then the economy is doing well. Which is why Joe Biden and I are saying, 1, taxes will not be raised on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. We are saying that we know one of the greatest ways that we achieve access to economic health and intergenerational prosperity is home ownership. So we will have a $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers to help you with down payments and closing costs to buy a home. We understand working families need child care, but nobody should have to pay more than 7% of their income in child care. That is our commitment. Because we know the economy is doing well when working people are doing well. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures how well the economy is doing based on the stock market, who measures how well the economy is doing based on how rich people are doing, who, as one of his first orders of business, passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America. I will tell you, Joe Biden and I will make it one of our highest priorities to get rid of that tax bill and do what we know needs to be done to invest that money in working families. Public health crisis and economic crisis being compared to the Great Depression, a long overdue reckoning on racial injustice in America. So on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who has the knowledge and the courage enough to use the term and speak those words, Black Lives Matter. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who refuses and will never say Black Lives Matter, and then had the gall to stand on that debate stage at the last debate in front of 70 million Americans and would not condemn white supremacists. And you know, people have asked me, they say, well, Senator Harris, by the way, Senator's not on my birth certificate, it's Kamala. And they say, well, are you saying, do you think he's a racist? Yes. Yes. Because you see, it's not like it's some random one-off. We've seen that pattern. Going back to him questioning the legitimacy of Barack Obama, going back to Charlottesville, when people were peacefully protesting racial injustice in America, a woman was killed. And on the other side, you had a bunch of neo-Nazis wearing swastikas, carrying tiki torches, slurring, and throwing out anti-Semitic and racist slurs. And Donald Trump said, well, there are fine people on both sides. A president of the United States who referred to Mexicans as rapists and criminals. A president of the United States who made as one of his first policy initiatives a ban on Muslims entering our country. And then stood on that stage and would not condemn known white supremacists, and then doubled down and said, well, they should stand back and stand by. This is not reflective of who we believe we are as a nation. We need a president who acknowledges systemic racism, who acknowledges the history of America, and uses that bully pulpit and that microphone in a way that speaks truth with an intention to address the inequities and bring our country together. And that is Joe Biden. Four crises: public health, economic, a grappling and a need to deal with racial injustice, and a climate crisis. So, you know, I come from California. I was born in Oakland, California. And we have some California, you know, okay. The West Coast has been burning because of those wildfires. California, Oregon, Washington. The Gulf states have been battered by these storms. People in the Midwest, farmers have lost whole season of crops because of the floods. So Joe Biden says we need to embrace science. We need to deal with it. This is something that is hurting people. It is something that we can address in a way we also create jobs by investing in infrastructure, investing in building renewable energy. That's going to be about jobs. Joe Biden knows the seriousness of environmental justice issues. He knows that of all of the areas where people live in America with poor air quality, 70% of the people in those areas are people of color. Joe Biden knows what's going on at Flint. Joe Biden says we need to address this and we need to pay attention to science. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who recently, when he was asked about the wildfires in California, and the reporter said something like, well, you know, so the scientists are basically saying these fires, you know, what's happening, the scientists are saying there's a connection between these drastic changes in the climate and these wildfires. You know what the President of the United States said in response? Science doesn't know. What? Science doesn't know. The President of the United States. And what we see is a through line, right? On that issue and the first issue, an inability to embrace fact, an inability to embrace experts, an inability to embrace intelligence, an inability to be competent, an inability to do the job of Commander-in-Chief of the United States, whose first responsibility is to concern themselves with the health and safety of the American people. And that's why we're going to elect Joe Biden. There is so much at stake. Now, you all know, and Atlanta helped me when I ran for Senate, and I am now the only black woman in the United States Senate, only the second in America's history to be elected to the United States Senate. And I'm going to tell you, because I've been there now for almost 4 years, the Senate is so important on all these issues. Like, we need to take back the White House. There's no question about that. We also need to take back the Senate. We need to take back the Senate. You know, it's the senators that will make decisions about, advise and consent on who sits in the United States Supreme Court, right? One of the reasons I became a lawyer is because I was inspired by Thurgood Marshall and Charles Hamilton Houston and Constance Baker Motley, right? They are the ones who fought for Brown v. Board of Education. They are the ones who have fought for civil rights. Who sits in the United States Supreme Court has everything to do with our fight for equality. Well, it's going to be the president who nominates somebody, but it's the Senate who advise and consent will make the decision about whether it goes through. And right now, we're seeing that battle in full relief with this illegitimate process they've engaged in to try and fill the seat of the great Ruth Bader Ginsburg. While people are voting in an election, the majority of American people say, let us decide who will be our president, and then let that person decide who fills that seat. The United States Senate. The United States Senate is where there will be a decision on whether we put on the floor a bill that my brother Cory Booker from New Jersey and I wrote called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. A bill that says, like Joe Biden and I say, we should ban chokeholds and carotid holds because George Floyd would be alive today if that were the case. A bill that says, let's have a national registry of police officers who break the law because that is the right thing to do. And we can't have folks just get fired one place and then they'll get hired somewhere else. It says we need to have a national standard for excessive use of force because it's not right that in some places when there's excessive use of force, the question asked is, was it reasonable? When we all know you can reason away just about anything. And the more fair and just question to ask is, was it necessary? We need to change the standard. Those kinds of decisions, yes, they get made from the White House, and we will make them. It also gets made in the Senate. And so that brings me to Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. And Georgia, you got to send them to the United States Senate. Send them to the United States Senate. Let them represent Georgia on all these issues. It is critically important. And you know, those Senate seats, those are 6-year terms. Think about your plans for your life and for your children's life over the course of the next 6 years. There's a lot that can get done, either for good or for not. These Senate seats are so important. So I'm here, Atlanta, Georgia, to ask you to do what I know you already know how to do so well, which is to organize, which is to talk to folks about what's at stake, which is to remind people on the issue of voting that we've got so many reasons. One has to do with, again, Atlanta. It has to do with John Lewis. It has to do with those men and women who shed blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge and so many other places for our right to vote. And so voting is about honoring those ancestors, honoring what they fought for and what they sacrificed for our right to vote. Voting is because there is so much at stake. Everything that we discussed, everything that affects our lives. And voting also is because we're not going to let anyone mess with our right to vote. Because here's how I think about that. Step back and think about, and I've been spending a lot of time all over. I've been in Florida this week. I was in North Carolina this week. I'll be in Ohio tomorrow. But think about it from this perspective. Ever since, and even before they gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, a whole lot of really powerful people, including in this state, because otherwise we would be talking about Governor Stacey, a whole lot of powerful people for quite some time have been trying to suppress our vote, have been trying to purge the voter rolls, have been trying to confuse us about the process, to make it difficult. Oh, you can fill out your ballot and then put it in one envelope, but then you need to put it in another envelope and make sure that's signed. Trying to confuse us, trying to make it difficult, messing with the post office. Can you imagine the post office? Like the postman, the postwoman, they're messing with the post office. And we have to at some point sit back and think, why are they trying to make it so difficult and confusing for us to vote? And I think the answer is because they know our power. They know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. And so I'm here to say, Atlanta, let's not let anybody take our power from us. We know the power of our voice. We know at election time the power of our voice is expressed through our vote. We're not going to let anybody take us out this game. We are present. We are powerful. We are active. And we know what's at stake, and we honor our ancestors every day. And so my last point is this. This moment will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, and others, they will look in our eyes, each one of us, and they will ask us, where were you at that time? And the thing we're going to be able to tell them is so much more than just how we felt. What we will tell them is what we did. We will tell them. There was this one particular afternoon, we were hanging out at Morehouse in the parking lot. We will tell them we organized, that we talked to our neighbors and our friends and our relatives. We will tell them we help people get to the polls. We will tell them on mandatory Saturday, which is tomorrow, that we made sure everyone we know got to their county office to vote. We will tell them we stood up and we fought for our country and we fought for the ideas because we love our country and we know our power. Thank you, Atlanta.